Hey, board gamers, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, back in the Gumbo pot with another episode of Gumbo Live. It's episode number 170, Gumbo Live, the number one Facebook Live Tuesday night talk show dedicated to board gaming in the Alabama Stickies. Our special guest tonight, Josh Ballagh. He's the co-host of GeauxPub at Southern Board Game Fest. We're going to talk about that because we had such a good time last month. And the GeauxPub section might have been the most popular section, but also a published game that we're going to be talking about. He's got a game that he's going to be publishing. He's going to be hitting on Kickstarter pretty soon. So we want to get all of the word about that, find out all the information. Hit us up on social media tonight, on Twitter or on Facebook or on Blue Sky at Board Game Gumbo. We'll be looking for your questions in the chat crew. I'm going to bring in my tag team partner, Steve, because we're missing a couple people tonight. Steve, we couldn't get Verla or Jay tonight. They're busy, right?
Nope. So you called in not the B team, but the C team. You called JV for me.
Yeah, the JV. No, what I wanted to talk to you about, because we're bringing on somebody who's going to be very familiar with this, is you have a new concept about how we should rate heat and humidity down here in the South. And I really love that one.
Well, you started talking about it as when you returned back from being up north someplace, up here near Canada, as you always put it.
That's right.
When you arrived back in Louisiana, it was feeling like you came back to gravity, like you came back to Earth. So I said, well, if that was the case, maybe, coming back down to Earth, you were pulling G's, right?
That's right.
When you come to different humidities, are you pulling H's?
You're pulling H's.
We debated how many H's we would be having, the relative difference between Alabama, where Eric is, and Louisiana, where you all are. I think you determined it was like 3 G's versus 4 G, or 3 G's versus 4 G's, 3 F versus 4. Yeah, gotcha. 3H versus 4H.
Yeah, but you're the New Yorker. I mean, where did you put the Alabama Stickies in relation to New York?
It was not as bad. Like I told you, it was not as bad as New Orleans in August when I went. Yeah. But then again, it also wasn't August when we were in Alabama either. So
it's true.
Yeah,
that's the Alabama Stickies. All right, well, enough blather. Let's get right to our special guest. I want to bring in Josh. Josh, what's up?
Hey, Josh, welcome aboard
to the show, Josh. Now, Josh, you're a designer. So I want to hit you off right away. You're very familiar with the elevator pitch. Give the chat crew the elevator pitch. Who is Josh, and how did he get started in board gaming?
Yeah, hi. So I'm Josh, Louisiana, born and bred. I grew up in Leesville, went to college in New Orleans, and then moved to Lafayette in 2021. I got started in board gaming when my grandmother, oh gosh, I forget which one came first. It was either HeroScape or Catan.
Wait, what was the other one?
Huh?
What was the other one?
Catan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I grew up playing both of those. And it awoke something in me because I never stopped playing games.
But Steve, did he say that his grandmother taught him HeroScape? Is that right?
Yes. She taught me.
You can correct it all you want. It's headcanon now.
It's headcanon.
It actually happened.
Josh's my grandmother was teaching me Bure and Bataille, and his grandmother was teaching him HeroScape.
If only. That would have been fun.
She even filmed the videos that HeroScape is the greatest game because.
Wait, so you're from Leesville. You're not a Wampus cat?
No, actually, no.
That's your big rivalry.
I went to that like magnet school type situation in
Louisiana School for the Arts, Maths, and Sciences. Yeah, my roommate in college went there. Yep.
Really?
He's part of the second graduating class, and my best friend was part of the first. Yeah.
That's a storied class right there.
Well, the one that came after him was his younger brother, and that's the one that almost killed. So this school was a school started in the late 80s, and it was for the arts, maths, and sciences. They took all of the brightest kids around Louisiana, brought them to Natchitoches, to Northwestern State University. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? A bunch of 15, 16, and 17-year-olds on their own on a college campus, right?
Yeah.
And so the first few years, everything's going great. And then my roommate Frank's younger brother David went, and they almost kicked the whole school off of campus because it had been 4 or 5 years, and they finally figured out, like, really, there is not going to be any supervision here. We can basically do whatever we want. But that's not how it works, right, Josh?
Unfortunately, no.
You can't do anything you want.
Yeah.
So was there gaming over there? Because the one that went to Louisiana School for the Arts, Maths, and Sciences, my best friend And so I'm trying to tell you, usually when he taught me D&D, he's going to got me involved in Dungeon Magazine and all those other things. And I'm assuming there was a gaming culture there.
Yeah, there was. I ran a lot of tabletop RPGs. We had a little club called
Hey, Blake's checking in. Says
Hey,
excited for the release. We're going to get into it in just a second.
He was one of my players for the Star Wars RPG I ran in high school at LSMSA. So
that circle comes complete. So there was some gaming in Natchitoches? Oh, Steve, did we lose him?
I think we may have frozen him.
Oh, well, Steve, can you tell me, was there any gaming in
Oh, I'm
Natchitoches?
sure that there was. You were mentioning about Dragon Magazine and stuff. You go back to those old Phil Folio days with
Yes.
the cartoons.
Yeah.
I mean, that was Louisiana all over, as far as I'm concerned.
Josh,
I got music for you, BJ.
are you back, Josh?
yeah, I'm
There
here.
he is. We
So
stole.
you were saying.
What's up?
There was a freeze for you. We missed on the gaming that was happening in the area at the time.
Yeah, there was a lot of gaming happening in the dorms, especially after hours, way later than there should have been.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we gamed.
There was a lot of computer gaming when I went to college too. I mean, everybody had, whoever had the computer in their room back then was the most popular kid on campus because everybody wanted to play whatever the latest Infocom game was that came out. We all wanted to play those games. So I'm sure that went on over there too. There's lots of computer gaming, right?
We do tabletop games late too. I mean, I remember pulling an all-nighter to play like an 8-hour session of like the Star Wars RPG one time. That was pretty gnarly.
What a coincidence, Steve. This guy has Josh's last name.
Wow.
They might even be related.
Yeah, that is my father. Yeah.
Hey, how's it going?
Look at that.
Thank you for joining in. He's played board games his entire life. I grew up in a board gaming family also. My mom and dad were both board gamers. They would, once a month host a little board game night with their family, with their friends. So, and they wouldn't let us play. We had to go in the back. We would play our own games, but they had these, marathon games of Monopoly. And my dad's favorite game of all time was Pit. I don't know if you've ever played Pit, but.
Oh man, that he had good taste.
Oh yeah?
I've only heard of Pit. I've always wanted to play it.
I have a copy right there. I've got my dad's copy, and Steve, it's got the bell. It's got the bell with the original artwork. So yeah, I still love that game. In fact, what was funny? I was reading Dale Yu, I think it was, who was writing about the Gathering of Friends up there.
Right.
The big thing up in
literally up by Canada.
Exactly, Niagara Falls, right? Yeah. And Dale said that there's a guy who brings Pit every year. Amidst all these hobby games, he insists that they all go back and play some of the older card games like Pit. And Dale says, I forget how fun it is just to have a game with just 3 or 4 rules, but really interactive and and just a lot of fun. Right.
That's Kevin. That's Kevin.
Kevin says any game that prominently features barley. Yeah. Is that Gnarls barley? Is that what he's talking about?
Yeah. That might be.
I don't think that is. So that's how you got your start in board gaming. But then somehow you got involved in Southern Board Game Fest, our favorite festival down here, the end of March. How did you get involved in Southern?
How did I get involved? Man, I brought Coalition there the first couple times I went. And I don't know who put me in touch with Jeremy Mons, but we I don't remember. I actually don't. That's so funny.
I'm gonna have to go back. Yeah, there's a Steve post link. I'm gonna have to double check to see how that happened. But somehow you came that first time to actually demo the game because you were doing some play testing with it, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And then Jeremy slowly got you into GeauxPub. I want to give you guys kudos. I thought that this GeauxPub it's always been popular, like a lot of people there, but this time it was like an event. It felt like so Steve's never been. Tell everybody, tell the chat crew, what is GeauxPub?
So GeauxPub is the playtest section at our local convention, Sobo. I got to co-host it this year, which was really awesome. I was a little nervous about getting butts in seats. We had a lot of people sign up to playtest their prototypes this year, and we're a really small convention. What do we have this year? Like 250-ish people.
250,000. Yeah. I mean, when you count all the turnstiles over 3 days.
Right.
But I mean, I was looking at the number of like playtest sessions we had, and I was like, man, we're gonna need like 10% of people at the convention to just like play GeauxPub the whole time, and that's what ended up happening. Actually,
yeah,
our 7 GeauxPub tables stayed busy pretty much the whole time. I think Jeremy and I deserve only a little bit of the credit for that, because we couldn't have done it without having such a good crowd there. People were very willing and excited to jump into those play tests, which was it was pretty amazing to me. Especially if you've taken your game lots of places, especially in the earlier stages, sometimes it's hard to get testers, depending on, especially if it's kind of a laissez-faire, like fend for yourself type situation. But we got testers. We got plenty.
Well, I'm one of those guys, unfortunately. I like to play games that are finished, and I'm a sucker for the beautiful art and the components and the experience and all that. And I don't always think in terms of designing, so I never know what feedback to give. And then I'm watching the people at GeauxPub this year, because this is probably the most amount of time I've spent in GeauxPub because of the way the room was designed. It was every time I went to get a Coke or a candy, it was, which I only did one time the whole weekend, Steve, if my wife was watching.
Yeah, right.
One Mountain Dew and one Snicker bar. That's it.
Yeah.
But every time I went there, the GeauxPub was right next to it. And those 7 tables, Steve, were just hammered. People just constantly there.
That's great.
The designers themselves were, they were doing the Walt Disney thing. They were cross-pollinating. Like, it was so cool to see Woody testing his game with Sterling. They were doing the Playground Empires game. And then he'd skip 2 tables and he was with Mike playing the Pothole game or the New Orleans Parade game. And then there was Ren with his really cool looking Dune Imperium game in just like 20 card or 50 card form. He compiled the whole Dune game down to like 40 cards. I don't know how he did it, but he's there. And then you saw Carla and Nick just bouncing around from table to table from Weird Giraffes, either playing games or Nick's demoing one of their games, and Carla's giving another designer feedback. It was impressive to see community, didn't you think, Josh? It was like a little community of designers.
It was awesome. People didn't need much encouragement to do that cross-pollinating. I was really glad to see that. Part of me was worried, especially with some of the, people who've never done this before. Like this, for a lot of people at GeauxPub, this was their first time ever bringing a prototype to like a playtest section for public testing. So it was really nice to see people cross-pollinating instead of like just kind of sitting at their own tables, twiddling their thumbs. I think everyone understood that we were really lucky to have this much energy around playtesting, and I think everyone wanted to pay it forward. And that's why I volunteered to help with GeauxPub, is because I've been really lucky to have a good set of playtesters for Coalition. So I felt the need to pay it forward.
Did you get the kind of feedback from the designers and from the playtesters where you feel like you could do the old roses and thorns? We used to call it roses and thorns on our hikes and campouts. The things that went really well and the things that maybe you could improve on.
Are you talking about like on a game by game basis? You're talking about
no, just GeauxPub in general.
Yeah. We talked to a few people. We didn't have a survey or anything like that. But we've got oh gosh, let me try to remember the conversation I had with Jeremy like a month ago. I think next year the main thing we're gonna do is try to get all of our ducks in a row earlier, and also use tabletop.events to help us with the organization a little more. I think there's some functionality where we can kind of put some of that back on the participants instead of having to like plug everything in ourselves and like follow up and ask people questions. I think that's the biggest thing for me that I think we could do differently going forward. But in terms of like actual playtests and stuff.
Okay, so good feedback. Yeah. Here's some feedback for you. Josh wrote a fiction novel in elementary school full of deep character development. Josh has been developing game in some way or other his whole life. This
is why people tune into Gumbo.
They
want the tea to spill.
Yeah.
It must happen.
Speaking of spilling the tea, let's get right to it because I want to hear more about this game. We're here with Josh Ballagh from Lafayette, who's talking to us about Coalition, Council of the Republic. Josh, you were a big part of Sobo and GoPub, but you actually got to do some of the playtesting at Coalition. But there may be some people that have never heard of the game. So give us the elevator pitch. What is Coalition, Councils of the Republic?
So Coalition, Councils of the Republic is a negotiation party game for 4 to 15 players. Players take on the role of medieval politicians in a city-state, and you have to draft a new constitution through this values-based shared scoring system. So you've got 4 factions: clergy, nobles, merchants, and rebels, and they all have some overlapping values, some overlapping goals. So every round, you're wheeling and dealing, trying to figure out like what you're going to work towards this round and where you can recruit allies from the other factions.
And that's these 4 little the 4 little virtues that we see, right?
Yes. This is kind of hard to see with the darkness in the picture, but left to right, that's order, justice, freedom, and wealth. Right.
And it's not, they're not tied to the different factions in singular. Each of the factions is going to share one of these traits with another faction, right?
Yes. Yeah. Every faction cares about 2 of those things.
So when you're moving up if you're moving up the factions, if you're actually helping another faction unknowingly, yes. Right?
Yes.
Or is this public knowledge what each person's party is?
It is. It is public knowledge. Yes. So very much knowingly. In fact, this game used to have, it has its roots in social deduction. We've kind of let that fall away because the most interesting part of the game we found was the negotiation that comes when you know what everyone wants.
Right.
So I think really there used to be more like backstabby elements, and we kind of dropped that too because there's other games that do it better. I think what's really interesting about Coalition is that my North Star design-wise has been that you need other people to accomplish things. People that are not on your team that you're not going to win with. You need their buy-in. And that's where the game is. Really.
How do you get that? And that's what separates it, I think, at least in my mind, from what I thought early on, because you and I have been talking about this game for years, was a 4-way faction version of Two Rooms and a Boom, where nobody is exactly sure who's on which side, and you're trying to figure out and suss out what other people are doing, to becoming more like, Steve, the Reiner Knizia games that we like sometimes, where you do have some open information, but you got to negotiate a little bit to get to where you want, right?
Yeah. Well, it actually, it what the earliest version of it was exactly what you described, like sort of this like 4 faction, Two Rooms and a Boom-esque type situation. What's funny? We brought it to BGGCon in 2022, and that was like kind of a watershed moment for us. There's lots of designers around there, and one of the designers of Two Rooms and a Boom, Alan Girding, came to play, and afterwards he was giving us some feedback, and he said, try the game out where the factions are public information from the start. Just try it and see what happens. And I was like, yeah, I see where your head's at. And so we did, and I haven't looked back.
So sometimes you just have to find the fun.
Yeah, that's what it was in the early stages. I had this sort of like very rough idea. The only thing that's really the same is that scoring system and dichotomy. We had to find the fun around it. How to best put that shared scoring system to work.
So how does that work? How do players score?
So, all right. It's called Councils of the Republic because you split into councils. The more players you have, the more councils you have. Each council is a sub-game. And what you do with your council each round is you decide what kind of article we're adding to our new constitution. So that article aligns with one of the 4 virtues: order, wealth, freedom, or justice. So like we sit down, we vote, and we might be on a council together and we vote on order this round, right? That's what we decide. That's what wins. So that's what we're doing. But then if we have enough players, we might have 2 or 3 councils, and they're all doing that same process simultaneously. So you're going to take it and you mark it on the scoreboard. There's not a good image of the scoreboard on our landing page.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything on that.
I think I have one right here though. We'll see how it looks on stream.
If you have assets, you can also share your screen. I think there's a button that you can click on to do that.
Oh yeah.
So Steve, you know what I'm hearing? I'm hearing Philadelphia 1789, the board game. That's what it feels like. We've got the factions that are vying for how we're going to create this constitution.
Yeah, it's very much it's medieval though. We're kind of inspired by the Italian city-states of like the 1500s, like Florence and Venice. They were like the early republics.
Sure.
So more the feudalist papers than.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of the Federalist Papers, the Feudalist Papers.
Oh God.
Josh, that's why we call him the Name Father, because he does it every week, man. I love that. The Republic of Amalfi, or any one of these city-states where there was negotiation going on between the guild houses and between the nobles, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let me see if I can solo you and see if you can show that up.
Oh man, it
doesn't
want to play well with the background.
It's not work. Yeah, that's right.
That's okay.
Well, let's not worry about it.
The artwork really brings energy to the game. So tell me about the artwork, because I don't want to skip that over. That's an important component of any kind of game.
Yeah. So my partner Coco is the illustrator. We were real good friends all through college, and then we started dating kind of around when I started working on this project, because I'd asked her to illustrate it, and we started hanging out a lot more.
Was that a way to hang out more?
A little bit, yeah. But I've always thought she was really talented.
Steve, you didn't know this is a romantic comedy with the cute meat.
That's right.
The start of it. That's my favorite kind of movie.
It's the first and foremost coalition that happened in this game.
It is. Right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So she's a medievalist. That's what she studied in college, medieval history.
Oh, okay. She's not from that period, because I was going to say she sounds a lot older than you.
That is her background, BJ. She comes from Medievalia, or
she's 600 years old.
Come on.
No, but so she throws in lots of fun little historical references. It's definitely more inspired by, like, I guess you could say, like, Renaissance fair rules is what her likes to say, instead of trying to be historically accurate. But she knows the history, so it informs a lot of the subtler bits of the character art. If you got any big medieval history nerds, I encourage you to look for Easter eggs in the character art, because
we've got Mitchell right here, I think, on the left side. I'm not sure, but it could be Connor, actually. It could be Mitchell and Connor, like an amalgamation of the two of them. I hope that's not me on the right side, Steve. I don't think so, though. So we talked about the four factions, but there's also roles, and one of the things that I thought was kind of neat in the game is that when you play a game like Two Rooms and a Boom, or one of those games, if you're the game master, you're doing the group a favor if you make sure that the first time players don't grab a role that is kind of outside of their comfort zone. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Oh, great, Mitchell. Sorry. Well, Mitchell, come on. It could be you and Connor there on the left-hand side. It could be. But anyway, is that something that you built into the game? Because that's a worry. That I want to make sure that people that are watching this on the Kickstarter know whether or not anybody can play this game that first time.
I think anybody can play the game, if you don't mind talking a lot. That's my writer. The game is the table talk.
But you have roles like the friar and things like that are made for first timers.
Yes. So there's some recommended first timer roles. Every faction has one that just says do a thing and gain influence, which is the game's currency. That's by far the easiest to play. Having more resources makes the game easier to play, right? And it's pretty straightforward.
Sure.
There's some other like first timer recommended roles as well. So yeah, there's a good onboarding point. There's also a few weirder roles that if you've never played before, or even if you've played once, you might read the card and be like, how do I use this? And that's there for the people who like that challenge, who like to read something and be like, this seems like a lot of hoops to jump through. why is it good? Let me figure that out. There's some of that in the game as well.
Steve, where are you on that? You're playing a game like Coalition the first time, and you've got 3 or 4 different roles. What are you looking for?
Well, first of all, I'm pleased to hear that some of the social deduction is removed from this, because my poker face in games like this is just awful. But if it's more about finding a spot, I'd probably start with the role that's on rails, because this is a kind of thing where I would need to get more comfortable with the talk. I have no problem talking, but in the context of learning the game, I might want to dip my toe into the pool in the shallow end to begin with.
If it's me, I'm looking for the Prince John role. That's just collect as much gold as you can the first time you play villainous, because that's the role I usually give people that are playing villainous first.
The most fun about that is not collecting the gold, but every time you do it, going aha.
Exactly. Oh my thumb. But the just give them that role where it's try to collect as much money as possible and try to beat the rest of us. And then you as Josh said, you're going to find a couple of people in the game group. The ones. They're the ones that are going to find a challenge. They're going to be, no, I want to take this really weird character and see if I can, do something with it. What's Dr. Facilier from the one about New Orleans? I'm drawing a blank. What is the name of the movie?
The
Frog Princess. Yeah. Frog Princess. Yeah. Dr. Facilier. That is an awesome role, but it is really tricky. I mean, you can't just give that role to somebody the first time they play villainous. They're gonna be like, I can't figure out how to win this game. So I'm glad you've done that, Josh. You've got some onboarding roles for that.
There's definitely, it's just like, do a thing, get influence, and and you want to do that as often as possible. But I think true to the spirit of the game, you usually need someone else to help you accomplish that. So it's a nice little onboarding point where you realize, like, oh man, I got to get someone to help me trigger this thing. For most of them. In terms of like challenge roles, we haven't talked about the independents yet. So there's four factions, 4 parties, and those are your teams, right? So what happens if you have a player count that's not divisible by 4? That's when the independents come in. So they're a lot like the gray roles in Two Rooms and a Boom. They have their own unique win conditions, and those win conditions are not exclusive with any of the parties. So if you have independents in play, one of the 4 parties is going to win, but also potentially any number of the independents could also win. And that I find, or have found, people who are achievement hunter types really like playing independents, because they kind of provide a weird challenge. They're like, oh, you need to do X thing at the end of the game, or like you need to end in this, like have the game end in a certain state. So they're a little weird, and you don't get teammates, but you also you can negotiate with anyone, right? Because you could win with them. So yeah.
Can you tell a little bit more about how you were talking about the coalitions and how these are like little mini games, and there's separation of players into one negotiation space from other negotiation spaces. How do they bring back together to create those game end or determining conditions?
Yeah, so let's. I'll give you a lowdown on just like the higher level gameplay loop, right? Yeah. So you've got everyone has their assigned councils, but at the start of each round, you have this 5-minute timed like free-form negotiation where you can get up and you can talk to anyone at any council, and you can give them cards too. You can be like, "Hey, teammate, I see that you're broke. Like, take some influence," or you can, you can do some cross-council negotiations and be like, "Hey, even though we're not teammates, like, what are you guys doing over there? Like, can I change your mind?" That's the first level of coalition is like, what's going on at my council? The next level is like, can I go sway people at other councils where I'm not? So once the timer goes off, you sit down at your councils, and there's a bid. You bid. That's the voting process essentially, is that you bid influence on what kind of article you're going to add.
Okay.
And then once every council's done with that, they all add their articles to the scoreboard. And then, so you have to live with the consequences of what your councils have been legislating. So
those are, again, aligned with values.
Yes.
That will feed two different
It changes the
groups at the same
rules.
time.
Not exactly. A little bit. So there's these things called edicts. There's 2 of them resolve every round, and it's based on what's ahead on the scoreboard. Let's see, show up well on camera. So you've got we've got these. I think so. Yeah. So we've got these little tiles here. So there's the wealth edict, justice edict, order edict, freedom edict. So whatever's ahead determines which side these are on, and these all have different effects. And there are some spicier ones that come into play later that they're not exactly rule changes, but they can certainly feel like it. They're quite game warping in the late game. So that's how it ties all back together, is that each council does its own individual thing, but once you sum all that up on the scoreboard, that determines what the edicts are, and that can really, really change your fortunes depending on what position you're in. Because the parties, they each have their 2 virtues, their 2 values. They tend to like it when their edicts go off, right? Like their game plan is centered around those going off, right? So they want to keep their stuff ahead. But that's quite the challenge. And it's hard to plan on too, because you don't know what's, especially once you add like more than one council to the game, you're like, okay, I know what my table's doing.
Mm-hmm.
So like I can kind of hedge my bets and think like, oh, we're probably going to get this edict this round. But if you have like 2 or 3 councils, well, you don't know how things are going to go there, right? You can try to predict it. It's fun if you're, if you got a handle on the game, you should try to predict it, but you don't know what they're going to do. So you don't know what edicts are going to be law. And that can really put you ahead or put you behind, depending on what those are.
And what kind of time frame are we talking about? It seemed like you guys were able to we would start these sessions, Steve, pretty late at night, like 7 or 8 o'clock, and it didn't seem like you guys were going that long, right?
No, the game plays in about an hour, plus or minus 10 minutes, I'd say. Really, you're only as slow as your slowest council, so they're all simultaneously happening. You can just kind of keep adding people. The game keeps trucking along.
Yeah, so that it scales from that aspect, because you're just adding people to the councils. You're not creating 10 different councils. It's still going to be a max of 4 councils plus the independents, right?
Yeah, actually, we've done. What's funny is that you can keep solving for player count by just adding councils. And we did a really big game at Gen Con. Last year. We had 6 different councils all playing the same game at once. And it did not take that long at all. The reason it took longer is because we extended the negotiation time so that you had more time to coordinate. But in terms of actually the procedural stuff, doesn't have time.
And what triggers the end game?
Could you nest this further? Could you nest the game within councils, within games, within affiliations, and have all of it just kind of continue?
Oh, God. I mean, you could just keep adding councils. I don't know what besides that. It's like every 5 or so players are going to need another council to accommodate.
Yeah.
People,
Seems like it could just continue and just get like layered and layered upon that, because now all of the councils have settled the constitutional roles in this country. But what about the next city-state over, which is a totally other game that could then pool together with this one?
Oh, man. That's some
deep thought there.
Next level.
Steve, is this a game that Steve runs or is one of the advisors to a game group up at the local community college? Is this the kind of game that they would play?
Oh yeah, yeah. This is the kind of thing they would eat up with a spoon. They like big, loud, talky games. They want to be throwing things back and forth. They want crosstalk.
Do they have access to iPhones and Samsung Galaxies where they could film themselves?
So they will have, and if there's something that's kind of like a game master running it, because our current soon to be former president, now that she's graduating, was running Blood on the Clock Tower. So this is right down their street. Big roles and wondering what's happening across the table and what other people will be doing and how it's going to affect me.
I should have put that in the show notes. That's a good point here. Let's face it. There's Twitch channels dedicated to Blood on the Clock. It seems like 24 hours a day you can go on Twitch and see people playing Blood on the Clock Tower. where does this game? Is this a game that Blood on the Clock Tower fans would enjoy? Is this game not made for them? What are we talking here?
I think yes, for
yes
most,
to both.
Yes, for most people. I think a lot of people like the big social deduction games.
Yes.
For the same reason that I do is that I like.
You do.
Yeah. I love Blood on the Clock Tower, man.
Yeah.
I like the bigness. I like the crosstalk. I like just games with a lot of moving parts, with a lot of people inputting things into this weird, crazy hole. Coalition is very, very much that. Sometimes people expect it to be more social deduction-y, and it's not. So if you really, really like lying, Coalition doesn't really have a whole lot of that, more than any other board game. But if you like the bigness, the chaos, the talk,
yeah,
it's got that in spades. So I think most people who like Blood on the Clock Tower will have a really good time playing Coalition.
I kind of like the idea of there being more of the gamery part and less of the the finger pointing and the social deduction. You know what I mean? It would be a welcome change. Mitchell says, I played this game back on a social deduction and was shocked when Josh said he took that part out, but it still really works without it. Hey, there's your Kickstarter quote right there. It still really works. I was surprised when I played the new version last week. That's fantastic. Oh, that's right. You guys had a play test while I was out of town. You guys had a play test last Friday night. How did that go?
Yeah, we had a blind play test. It went really well.
Boy, Steve, that's got to make a designer nervous. Here's the rules. I'm not going to say anything. You guys play the game.
Yes.
To their credit, they did not get a single rule wrong.
Really?
Played it.
I was not there. Then.
You were not there. That's we all
I
know.
anticipated Steve there.
Jojo and Jeremy spent about an hour digging through the rule book and giving me very detailed feedback.
Really?
It needs to be cross-referenced. Like this section needs to come before this section and da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, oh man, like this is so good. Like this was more than I expected, but like, I played tested this game a bunch. I'm not taking it personally. Like they did a huge favor, by just tearing it apart. And
wouldn't you rather know now than 6 months from now or a year from now when people have the game in their hands and they're writing you emails? Why isn't this on page 5? No, you'd rather know now.
Yeah.
It's so good. It was really good.
Yeah, for all of you people who didn't come to Sobo, you missed this. You had a chance to play this game at Sobo, not once, but twice. How did that go over at Southern Board Game Fest?
Pretty great.
You had some pretty good pretty big groups.
Yeah, we did a 12-player and an 8-player, and those are good. Oh, or was it 9? Something like that. Yeah, that's a good player count. Yeah, first game, real close. I after a round or two, I heard people, making some really interesting offers to each other. And I was like, man, I like how these people.
This is a family show, though, Josh.
Yeah.
Just be careful.
Yes.
So that went really well then.
Yeah.
Kickstarter details. Give us the details so people can get ready for the Kickstarter. How do they find out about the game? Any surprises you can let us know about or what you're expecting about the Kickstarter?
Surprise. Keep your eyes peeled in June. We will be live in the month of June. There may be some surprises, but nothing I can talk about as of yet.
Okay. But if they want to find out about the game, the best thing is to go to this link that Steve has, coalitionthegame.com.
Coalitionthegame.com.
And there's a little email that they can hit right there. Sign up for the email list, and that way they'll be notified as soon as it goes live. Is that right?
Yes.
Mitchell's got a question for you. When did you decide to lower the player count? That was another surprise. How well it played at only 5 after seeing the big games of 20. Yeah, how did that work?
Yeah, so basically to make the game actually good, I really had to drill down on like gameplay at a council. In the early days, it was like, it's so interesting. Like the game is so interesting in all the crosstalk. But once you start getting down to lower player counts, there's less crosstalk across councils, and it would start to get more boring. And I was like, man, we got to fix this. Like, I've got to make one council work by itself as a unit before you add it to the big, like, you got to make the sub game work before you add it to that whole like macro game. So basically just like really drilling down into the gameplay.
In response to what Mitchell was saying there, social deduction is so not my thing. For someone who just does not have a poker face, if it's in my head, it's on my face. But I like the idea of how this could, like, rather than trying to narrow down and target something, social deduction, this seems to be like more of a social expansion, more like social induction. What you do in this group bleeds out into other groups.
Yeah.
And I would much prefer social induction than deduction. If you look,
He's available for hire, Josh, if you need.
That's awesome. That's so fun. There's one other thing I'd like to talk about.
What you got?
In just in regards to negotiation games, there's
Social manipulation. I like that.
There's this mechanic in Coalition called sigils. Every player starts the game with a sigil card. It represents your good word as a counselor, your honor.
Mm-hmm.
It's an extra bargaining chip. This idea came about in Token Con in 2023. One of my playtesters said, man, this game really needs an extra bargaining chip to throw at people. And that's where this came from. So you start with a sigil. It's not worth anything to you. You give it to someone else, someone who's not on your team, it's worth extra points at the end of the game. The other thing that's interesting about it is that you can use it to secure binding deals. So you can get creative. You can kind of make your own rules, essentially. You know, you could say, like, I'm going to offer you this sigil, and if you accept, you're not going to vote this way for the next 2 rounds. Or you could say, you could just trade sigils. You don't have to make a deal. But if you make a deal and a sigil's involved, the deal becomes binding, and you have to uphold it to the best of your ability. And I find that this is what allows players to get really creative and do really powerful things, because, you know, once the sigil changes hands, they trust each other because they have to, because the game says so, right?
Yeah, that's that magic circle thing where within the context of the game, that sigil has power.
Yeah.
It's, oh no, I gave you my sigil, I gave you my word.
Yes.
Interesting. Was that just a brainstorm or just some talking, or?
Yeah. So, when someone said extra bargaining chip back in the early days, that's kind of where I landed. And I pulled some inspiration from Sidereal Confluence, which I think we played together.
It was Jack, my son. You played with Jack at Stillbone.
That. All right.
Yeah, it was Jack. He loved that game, by the way. Yeah.
That's one of my all-time favorite games. But what's so interesting in that game, it's a negotiation game about like space economics. But every deal in that game is binding, and that's what makes it tick, is that you can come up with whatever deal. You can be like, I'm going to go into debt with you, and I'll pay you whatever resources for the next 3 rounds. The creativity that comes when you can trust the guy across the table from you is just incredible. So whenever we were like, we need to add an extra bargaining chip, I was like, what if you could use it to make deals binding? And holy crap, it really sings.
So the game, The Resistance, or The Resistance Avalon, Steve, if you've played it, and I've gotten suckered by this sometimes you'll have somebody next to you and you're just vibing with them. You're like, I know this person is on my team. And all of a sudden you start whispering and you're concocting plans together and you're like, oh, this is this. And then of course you find out that they were lying the whole time and they were actually, they backstab you at the end. What I like about what you're describing with Sidereal Confluence, which I haven't played, I definitely want to play it at some point, and Coalition, is that comfort level of, oh man, a shared goal between 2 people that you can take to the bank, at least for the next 3 rounds. Maybe after that, we're going to go our separate ways, but we're going to have this kind of mutual, admiration society, and we're both gonna work together on it. That's kind of a cool influence. I like that, Josh.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that game is Sidereal is pretty brilliant, and I think Coalition owes a lot to it design wise. It's definitely much lighter than Sidereal, though. That's for sure.
Some good and shorter. So
yeah,
we've gotten some of the homages. We've gotten a little bit of playtime. We talked about the art. If somebody, they know how to find out. But if somebody wants to play this, you've got a busy convention summer coming up. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So we are going to have a presence at BGG Spring, Origins, and Gen Con. So we're going to have booths at those first two and a few games in the evenings. And then Gen Con, there's no booth. We're just running games like 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day.
And people can sign up with the normal tickets, right?
Yes. So event signups are live for BGG Spring and Origins. Gen Con signups go live at some point in mid-May.
Yeah.
I'd like to give a shout out to Taxman Cityway Brewery in downtown Indianapolis, because they will be hosting our Coalition Pub Night events this year.
Really?
We had one there. We had one with them last year, and we liked it so much, and they liked having us so much that I was like, "Hey, can we just do all 3 nights next year?" And they're like, "Sure, Josh." So I think Coalition plays really well when you have some sort of refreshment in hand.
A little root beer in you. Shout out to my buddies Chad and Greg. Chad's been on the show before in the past, but Taxman is the place that they go to when they go to Indianapolis. They love that place. I've never been, but they always rave about that place.
Yeah, I was impressed, and frankly, I was pretty impressed with their food menu too, which is saying something.
Nice. All right, so that is Coalition Councils of the Republic. Steve, if you want to hit that link again, it's coming up sometime this summer, we know, and we'll be at a bunch of conventions if you want. If you missed out on Sobo, you can catch Josh at one of those conventions that he mentioned coming up. But make sure you click on that link, Coalition the Game, you put in your email address, and you'll be notified when it comes alive. Good luck to it, Josh. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. I can't wait to see the video, because I think I recognize some people in the video. So that's always going to be fun. I don't get to see Kickstarter videos, Steve, with people I know. So that's going to be kind of neat. Well, Josh, here on Board Game Gumbo Live, it's a board game show. So you know what that means. We got to play a game.
Oh.
I'll let Steve tell you what tonight's game is going to be. And we're going to play this with the chat group.
Okay, so just to be clear, this is the actual Envy game. This is not BJ's sudden wrinkle.
No wrinkles. No curveballs, no wrinkles. Okay. We're actually playing Envy for the first time.
All right, so the Envy game is a good one. It's a classic. You, as the guest, will think of a game that you would, if everything was perfect, you had the right time, place, and people to play this game, you'd put everything aside and play this immediately. Don't tell us. Don't tell the crew. They're going to have to try to figure it out by asking questions of you. Kind of 20 question style, although it doesn't quite have to be yes or no, right? So we'll try to figure out, and we'll take turns asking questions, pop in questions anybody in the chat throws out there too. And the first person who can get it gets bragging rights. Usually that ends up meaning either BJ pulls one out of nowhere or the guest wins.
Let's hope.
BJ's been hot, though.
All right.
I've been on a roll.
You have been.
I have been on a roll.
I've got my game.
All right, Josh, do you understand the rules, though?
So you're going to ask me a question that's probably yes or no, and I will answer it?
Yeah.
You've got the rules.
Yeah.
You may want to have the BGG page open for the game, because some of the questions we ask might be, look upable.
I got it.
Cool.
All right, we got a question already. Dang it, Mitchell stole my question. Oh, man. Is it published by Leader Games? Really?
It's
not published by Scoop, Steve.
Though I am a huge fan of their work.
He loves Leader Games. So I was instantly going with either Root or Ahoy. I was like right off the bat. So.
Yeah, those are the gimmies. I just got the new Ahoy expansion in this week, man. I love those.
All right, so Josh is already, Mitchell, I'm out of ideas. I'm going to go to Steve and let him ask his question.
All right. It's a game that plays in, say, an hour or less or more.
I'd say an hour or less.
An hour or less. Okay.
Hour or less. Mitchell wants to know if it's published by Stonemaier.
It is not published by Stonemaier.
Mitchell is not going alphabetically through the publishers, but Mitchell has a strategy here. Eventually, it will converge on an answer.
L to S, then he's going to wrap around back to D. I think.
Yeah. It's gonna. Well, it could be Bezier. He could jump to B, maybe. I don't know.
Is it a competitive game?
Competitive, yes.
Versus cooperative,
Yes.
competitive. Okay, it's competitive.
Okay.
Did your grandmother purchase the game for you? Okay. This is the first time this question's ever been asked on the show. Oh my God, we've had.
I bought this game myself at a game store.
David, I love that question. In 170 shows, we've never had that question.
It's a good one. It's going to be my first one each time now.
Yeah.
From now on.
I think I'm going to put it on the show notes. I'm going to put it on the on game notes. Okay.
Okay.
So I think it's back to you, Steve.
Back to me. Okay. Is this a game that was, say, published in the last 5 or so years?
Ooh.
5. So no, it is not.
Josh is. It's not
Older.
It's older than 5 years,
Yes.
right? Is it a space theme game?
No.
That's my second choice. It's out. Oh, man.
Okay.
No, but I think space is getting warmer conceptually.
Oh. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking something like, Cosmic Encounter, Steve, or something like that, because that would kind of fit with the gamery idea. Have you played that?
Cosmic done in an hour?
It can. Yeah.
Pretty fast, I think. Believe it or not, I had not played Cosmic before this year, which I have known is a terrible sin, given that, one, I love negotiation games. 2, all my favorites like Root and Sidereal,
they grew out of those, right?
Out of that game, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
even Magic the Gathering, owes a lot of its early forms to Cosmic Encounter. That's a great game. I'm a big fan of it. Is it a one versus many game? Mitchell wants to know.
Good.
No, it is not. Though I almost picked Mind Management for this question.
Oh, that was a good one. Yeah. Okay, so to recap, it's competitive.
Yes.
Takes about an hour or less.
Yes.
It is published older than 5 years.
Yes.
His grandma did not purchase this game, Steve.
No.
So remember that. Very important.
That threw me off. I was willing to swear that it would have been.
That narrowed it down right there to me. That eliminated a whole slew of games. And it is not a one versus many game, and it's not a space theme game. Although Josh says space is hot. At least it's
Mitchell,
warmer.
I think he's asking if it's laser cats.
And that's why Mitchell went with cats, because space is hot. So he's thinking space cats, I guess.
Not cats.
Are cards prominent in the game?
No, actually.
No.
I'll say something else about cats. It's. Ooh, I feel like I'm tipping my hand here.
Ooh.
I'll need a hint. It doesn't involve cats at all, but I'd say the term cat and mouse does describe the game pretty well.
Oh, that feels like.
Is it hidden movement?
Yes.
Does it have vampires in it?
No.
Dracula would take longer than that. Is it?
Oh,
Mr.
yeah,
Jack?
that's true. Not Heroescapes, I'm betting.
It's not. Heroescape is much older than 5 years.
Okay, Steve, this is that point of the show where that's a pretty big discovery.
It might be in the realm of his hidden movement.
And he almost went with
he said not one versus many.
Yeah.
So it's not like a Fury of Dracula or Mr. Jack kind of thing.
Oh, so it's not Terrascape either. No, it's not that either.
Many.
So combine hidden movement, and it's not space, but you're getting warmer. I'm telling you, that's the crux of the clue right there.
Not space, but we're getting warmer.
Yeah.
5
And
years.
it's not leader games. Oh, trying to think of what Josh posted. I'm cheating here, Steve. He's posted a couple of games in the Discord the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Trying to think, are any of those it?
I have not gotten to play it recently. The reason I picked it for this question is that you said if given perfect conditions,
Right.
The intent of this game.
So if it's not space, is it a sci-fi theme?
No, not really.
Okay, so
I'd
you
say,
can
I'd say
eliminate.
it's more modern day themed.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not going to be Star. It's not going to be
Oh.
Star Wars Rebellion or any of those games. Then no.
You said
gonna be
not
that.
cards.
Oh, it's true. Not card based. So does it have miniatures?
It does not. No. Fantasy theme. No. I'd say modern day.
Really?
Okay.
Wow. I thought we were getting close. And wait, is it? No, Veiled Fate is not. That is not modern day.
I
Veiled
definitely. I picked it for this question really because you really need the right group for it. And
Oh yeah. So
I
it's a
don't-
group dependent game.
Yes, I don't get to play it nearly as often as I want to.
Meeples?
No.
No
Okay.
meeples.
So I think we might need to figure. It's not one versus many, but it is hidden movement. There's a board.
Yes, everyone has their own board.
Really?
Yes.
Everyone has their own board. Well,
Need
it
some extra,
does have miniatures. What you said?
need extra help?
You know,
We
might.
always do. That goes without saying. Question. The
Is
question
it-
is when
are
we're
you-
going to give up and let you give it to us.
Are you referencing in the game? Do we need more help, like in the Envy game?
No,
Or just
no.
like in general,
In
does
the,
Steve and I need help
yes, in the
because we've
on-
been doing this
Every 2 weeks on Tuesday, this is a cry for more help.
after 8 years. You would think we would be smarter than this. After 8 years and 170 episodes, we still
Yeah.
can't figure out this game.
All right. Feels like we're missing an angle here, BJ. Should we maybe go at it from like designer or player counts, or what are you thinking?
I feel like he's given us the hints that we're literally going to slap each other in the face if we could reach each other, but I can't reach Montreal from here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. I'll take a hint. I am not a
I'm
Marine.
okay with it.
I did
I'm
not
okay
join
with
the
it.
Marine Corps.
Nobody else is chiming in here, so I think they're feeling the same thing.
Yeah, I think Mitchell stumped. You got a hint for us?
yeah.
Okay, so pretend like we've called the Nintendo Power Hotline, and we just want one hint, though. That's all we want. That might be dating me, Steve. I'm sorry.
That
Right.
might be dating you? Yeah.
Drivers markers.
You sure you're not going to call the Commodore 64 hotline?
Right.
BJ? You try that.
I'm gonna go on a bulletin board and ask for hints for my Commodore 64 game. So,
That's right.
so go ahead, Josh. What were you gonna say?
Dry erase markers. There's a
Okay.
hint.
Dry erase markers. Hidden. Wait, it's not a fake artist goes to New York.
No.
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 Okay.
Because the hidden movement would be you're having to map something, which is kind of mind management-y. I get.
And each person it's not. Is it a social deduction game?
No. It's
No.
not.
So like,
It is team based though.
oh my, wow.
Oh, is it Captain Sonar?
Captain Sonar!
Oh my God, Steve! Whoa, that's fantastic.
There it
That's right.
is.
There's no board. Each person has their own,
And
chart.
very group dependent.
Oh,
Yeah.
it is very group dependent.
That is why I picked it.
That's a good call.
I've actually played that game 2 or 3 times, and I would have never guessed it. Great pull, Steve. Great, good
Yeah.
hint. Very good hint, Josh. Just
That
enough
was
of
an
that.
excellent hint. It did not put it over the top, but it clarified everything a little bit. Mitchell was right there too.
With the delay, Mitchell was right in there because he's a little bit behind us.
Mitchell didn't have it by now.
Yeah.
It's
It's easy when you know. It's hard on the other side too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's that was. I'm telling you that it's one of those exactly what I said, Steve. All of his answers make complete sense when you think about it. They steer you to Captain Sonar, but we were.
I can't think of anything else we would have asked that would have made it clearer. Because I was thinking about something about having to do with technology, and you would have had to say yes, but it wouldn't have told me enough about the technology to get me there.
Josh, were you in that game that we played at UL before COVID when we all did the 8-person?
No, I wouldn't have been in Lafayette.
Oh, you wouldn't have been in Lafayette. Okay.
I was still in school.
Yeah, Mitchell and I got to play an 8-player. So and I've done that twice now. Played it at 8 players, the full player count, and that to me.
I've heard of some groups that hack together like 4 submarine games where you have like 2 teams of 2 different subs with 16 people. I've never done such, but I've heard of it, and I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I thought I was making it more complex by adding city states for you to compete against, and you're having layered in the game. But now you're creating fleets in Captain Sonar. Jeez.
You know, that game is still selling today and still being played, and there's a reason why. It's with the right, as Josh said, it has to be the right group. And I think when I was lucky enough to play with Mitchell as one of the leaders, and I can't remember who the other leader was, and that's just a joy to have a captain who knows what they're doing, because the rest of the team can just focus on their thing.
Their job.
I just can't think of very many games. It's a very short list of games that absolutely do not feel like a game. They feel like you are in a submarine
doing the thing.
You're going after this other submarine, and you're sweating bullets the whole time. I mean, it's such a great game.
That was a great pick, Josh, and well played.
Thanks.
Made us work for it.
Mitchell, you did do a good job as a captain, but you made us work for it.
Not Captain Nemo, Captain Nervo.
Captain Nervo.
I think that's I don't know. Captain Sonar checks a lot of boxes for me, and I think the biggest one is the complete and utter lack of downtime. You know, for me to put up with downtime, I have to really like the other things that are going on in the game.
Yeah.
But I think my hatred of downtime shows a lot in Coalition, because you kind of just talk to other people and then the game's over.
Yeah. Well, that reminds me, a game night where you and I get a big group and we play Coalitions and then we play Captain Sonar. That'd be just, what a great game night. Cap it off with Sidereal Influence, and then we just call it a night.
Ooh, man, I think we need like a whole day.
Yeah.
We might need a whole day. Or Cosmic Encounter. Maybe we do Cosmic Encounter for a shorter.
You'll probably get Cosmic faster than Sidereal, I'm sure.
Well,
Kevin's been wanting us to play that one for ages.
Well, that's our Envy game presented by our friends at Game Toppers LLC. Remember, make your game night a showstopper when you play on a Game Topper. Berkey, a huge supporter of Southern Board Game Fest. Yep. Berkey, we broke records at Southern Board Game Fest. We sold so many raffle tickets this year, all thanks to Berkey and all the amazing other sponsors that we had with the raffle. But Berkey's doing the Kickstarter 5.0 that's going to be coming out. So keep an eye on that, because Berkey is telling me there's going to be a little surprises there. So it should be some pretty cool stuff. And also, if you're a fan of Earth, the game, Berkey's running a deal where you can get Earth on the Kickstarter with the expansions, but also with a game mat that's perfect for it. This gorgeous nature game mat that just goes right with Earth. So check that out. Thank you to Berkey for being such a special sponsor and a great friend of Southern Board Game Fest. All right, board gamers, that's it for another episode of Gumbo Live. I want to thank our guest Josh from Coalition Councils of the Republic. Bravo, Josh. This game has been a journey for you, going all the way back to Louisiana Arts School for the Arts, Paths, and Sciences.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad you stuck it out, because you have the thing that I think every designer needs. Find the fun and just keep maximizing that, and keep maximizing that, and not be satisfied, because you said you could have probably published this game in a different format 3 or 4 years ago, but it wouldn't be the game it is today.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's great. If people want to get in touch with you to ask you questions about the game, or to get more information about Coalition, or to talk to you about putting their own game up at GeauxPub, talk about a success, Steve. We've got a game that's going to be published next year. We've got this game, a Coalition, that's coming out. We've got a couple other games that should be coming out pretty soon. And of course, Carla always has games that she play tests here and are going to get published. By the way, keep an eye out for that plaid game that I played, the little plaid towel game that she made. It's really, to me, it's right up your alley, Steve. It's a good one. But if they want to get in touch with you, Josh, how do they get in touch with you?
You can get in touch with me on our mailing list. If you just follow that Coalition the Game link, all of our newsletters and the welcome email come from my personal email. So if you want to talk to me, all you have to do is hit reply. If you don't want my wonderful newsletters in your inbox, you can instead join our Discord. That is very lively. Our playtesters
There's always something going on that Discord.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I'm having a silly little moment here. How do I get in?
Is it on the page, Coalition the Game? Is there a way to get to the Discord? I don't remember.
No, not on
there. Yeah.
Page there. Here, I'm gonna put that link in this chat here.
Oh, great. Yeah. I will highlight it if you throw that up there.
maybe I'll put this in this private chat here, and you can repost it.
What's up, Evan? Evan's going to be at all those conventions if you want some good feedback from a designer.
Evan Halbert?
Yeah, Evan.
The Empire fame?
Yep, that's
hey,
him.
What's up, man?
He's checking in.
We have this moment, like, I feel like every convention I like see him and I'm like, hey, Evan, and he's like, hey, and then we go and play games elsewhere. Okay.
Well, you have to know the proper way to greet an Evan in the wild. There's one correct way to greet Evan. You remember what it is, BJ, right?
All right, next time.
There you go.
Just get the face ready. No, you just got to corner
Up,
Evan.
though. You don't want to sprain the cheek. That's going to hurt you a lot. There you go.
And you really should check out his prototypes, Josh. He always brings great prototypes from really good games, but also he'll give you some fantastic feedback on your games. So
absolutely.
Offer whiskey. Yeah, that's probably just to break out the whiskey. Yeah.
Not a thing wrong with that either, Evan.
Break out the bourbon.
Heard that, man. Heard that. Look, I'm a big fan of After the Empire. You know, it's pretty great.
Yeah, this was Mitchell's way. Please let me play the After, which they, by the way, they did. If I remember right, the last night at Saturday night of VGGCon in the fall, they actually got to play the expansion, which I didn't even get to play. So someday we're gonna see that one. All right, make sure to like our Facebook page, facebook.com/BoardGameGumbo, and the YouTube channel. It helps us to get the word out about all of our upcoming shows. We do have Dom coming up, Dom Krabuschetz from North Star Games. It's going to be coming up in June. Till then, we're going to be doing some Gumbo Pot gaming on our twitch.tv/BoardGameGumbo channel every other Tuesday night. Probably going to every Tuesday for the next couple of weeks because Steve's got a lot of homework and a lot of stuff to do at school.
Things happen.
And we've got a lot of games to play. Twitch.tv/BoardGameGumbo, where we play your games live on Twitch every Tuesday night. We're still checking the comments. Evan says,
"You can't stop just when Evan gets here."
I know.
I mean, that's when the party starts.
I know. Plenty of whiskey down at the at Gen Con. That is true. And hey, I played soccer with Dom. I don't even know. I'm gonna have to ask Dom if that's true that he played soccer with him.
We're laying in our liquid orders for Chuck Con.
Dom looks like an athlete, so I would expect that Dom is pretty fast on the pitch. So I would expect him to be pretty good at soccer. But yeah, catch us on Twitch, twitch.tv/BoardGameGumbo every other Tuesday night where we play your games live on Twitch. And I'm BJ from Board Game Gumbo. I'm Board Game Gumbo from BJ Land. And until next time, les allez bon temps roulette.
Bye, all.
Bye.